Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Gerardo Poli.
And this, sorry. Okay.
I'm Gerardo Poli.
I'm Hubert Hemstra, and this is the Vetschool. Before we start, we want to tell you about a little gift we've made for you. We've created a beautiful, I think it's beautiful, little document with the answers from our first 20 guests on the podcast to the standard question that we usually finish the podcast with. That is the question of, if there was one bit of advice that you'd give to all of the veterinary new grads of the world, what would it be? And the document is yours for free. All you have to do is go to our website at thevetschool.com and subscribe to our email list, and we'll send it to you straight to your inbox. We'll also send you updates of any new episodes and any cool resources that we come across. So go and check it out. Or you can just click on the link in the episode page wherever you're listening to this, and we'll take you straight to the appropriate page. We hope that you'll check it out. Hello, Vet Vaulters, and welcome back to another episode of the Vet Vault. We have another kind of a special one for you tonight, a slightly different one, not our standard veterinary interview. We are talking to Nada Blagojevic, Dr. Nada, or Nada B, on Instagram, and she is a final year veterinary student at Adelaide University here in Australia. And she is part of a team that have created a guide for studying veterinary science, for study tips, study advice, life advice. I don't know, you can tell us more about it in a second, called at Vetschool. Not at Vetschool, hashtag Vetschool. Welcome, Nada.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to have this conversation with you tonight and to be on the podcast with you. You've been part of the Vet Success Academy, and it's been super cool having you on those live cast sessions with us too. And I really valued the input that you've had and the questions you had.
I appreciate it. And honestly, VSA has definitely been part of the reason where I am today. So I appreciate you putting it all together. Yeah.
Now, for once, Gerardo's got to shut up and listen to you instead of him going on and on.
That's exactly right. That's right.
So, Nada, tell us more about the hashtag Vetschool.
Hashtag Vetschool. Well, there was this 12 or 13 of us essentially from all around the world. Obviously, us in Australia. There's people from the UK, Canada, America mostly. One of the girls just put out a private DM to all of us and was like, who would be interested in putting together some sort of guide to help not only first years but other years study? And we're like, why not, first of all? And second of all, that's probably our most asked question on Instagram, not through just me, but most of the others, especially the others who have bigger followings. So we said yes. We put a deadline to it, about 3 weeks. Everyone got their information together, and then we had one of the girls put it together. Essentially, she is super creative, knows how to work computers and all of that sort of jazz, something that I could never in 100 million years grasp, because I feel like I'm 80 in a 20-year-old body. And then we made it go live, and it's been 3 weeks and we've had 5,000 downloads.
Wow.
From across the globe, anywhere from everywhere, I think, apart from Antarctica, I reckon, at this point.
Come on, Antarctica, lift your game. Where are those Antarctic vet students?
But yes, no, it's been quite an experience to see that many people benefit from it. So you just download it as a PDF, and it goes through how we take notes, how we time manage, how we study after that, and tracking apps, I guess you can call it. And then it has a few anatomy tips of how to learn for anatomy. And then I think our last one was talking about just general tips for first years, and
cool.
From everybody. So it's not just one method of how to study, but there's like people doing flowcharts and diagrams and tables and stuff like that. So really kind of delved into all aspects of how people can study realistically.
Excellent. So it's aimed at people starting on their veterinary journey or early on in vet school.
Definitely. However, being a final year, you'd be surprised how many tips and tricks I took from it as well, especially some of the apps that they shared. I was like, how did I even not know about these? One of the girls put in a table format in Excel. And I think for me, that was like I struck gold. I was like, I need to do it like this from now on. So there you go. Almost 2 months away from finishing. And I'm like trying to organize all my notes.
You could have finished with the university medal if you knew this stuff beforehand. Is that what you're saying?
I think I would have highly benefited if I actually looked at this sort of stuff beforehand, or at least before I started my DVM, because the amount of notes that we get given, I would have been able to like totally somehow organize my notes in a different way that I think would have benefited me for sure.
I love it. I love the collaboration and the social learning. And that's one thing that I really think is super powerful is you might have a group of people who might watch the same webinar or the same, talk or something, but then talking after about your main points, your key points, everyone picks up something different. But, so that's so cool that you learned something from the process as well.
Yeah. So Nada, you said earlier that the reason you guys started this project is that you were getting the same sort of questions from people on Instagram all the time. What are some of the most common questions that you get from people who want to study vet who are early in the process of studying veterinary science?
Mostly it's how'd you get in? What was your process? Any tips of, where I should apply or what should I be looking for in when I'm applying? And then go from there. Other questions are like, how did you get into vet? What was your pathway? Some of that sort of stuff, which is pretty endearing considering, like I was telling Hubert before, I only started this during COVID. So to be getting asked those questions is very, very endearing, to say the least.
Sometimes what happens though is you don't realize the journey that you've been upon, and you're 2 months away from graduation. But that's how many years is it nowadays? Is it 5 or is it 6? 6, isn't it? Yeah, that's 5 years and 8 months, 10 months or something, 9 months, right? Of trial, error, knowledge, sharing, and so forth. So a little bit in there is a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I'm sure you had a heap to contribute. So out of the questions, okay, well, actually out of the document, what are the 10 things that you think were the best aspects of it? What did you learn the most from?
In terms of how to studying per se, I think it taught me that no way is the right way per se, because everyone learns differently. And I guess a second one following on from that is that one subject you may be better from taking flashcards, the other one you may benefit from using a whiteboard. It doesn't even matter if your own studying tips don't work for one subject, changing it could benefit for another one. Other ones would be the fact that even just collaborating with them showed me that group studying and collaborating with my friends and other peers is never detrimental. You can always benefit from someone else, whether it's how to take notes or just something else that they wrote, maybe a note that you didn't grab, how they study, maybe how they understood a concept. That always helps me. Other things just as small as they might be using this app, whereas I may be using a different one. How do they benefit me compared to them, etc.? Just small things like that. There's a few others, but honestly, just in general, for me, it was collaboration because, like you said, teamwork makes the dream work.
What are there any standout apps that you can think of? Any standout apps from off the top of your head that you learned about that you love for studying?
A lot of people have the iPads and they use Notability, and I was a little bit upset because I was like, I've gone throughout my whole vet degree not knowing about this app, and I think it's honestly amazing. You just get to make notes on any PDF file that you download, and I don't think it's that expensive either for a whole year or two. But that one and Forest, the one where you grow trees as you study. I've seen brief, small other versions of it, like Study Bunny is one of them. But then I saw Forest and I was like, this is life-changing. I would not procrastinate as hard as I do. But there you go.
I'm going to have to look at that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, some of them are pretty great.
The Note app, I discovered at conference, just the Notes app on the iPad itself, the very simple, basic-looking Notes app is actually so freaking useful. You don't actually need any extra notes because on a note, you can organize all your files into the different categories. You can take photos, you can write, if you've got an Apple Pencil, you can write stuff, draw pictures. It's a fantastic resource. I use it for when I go to a conference now. I'll take photos of the slides and then make my own notes and add things to it. So yeah, you're right. It's a heck of a lot better than the piece of paper that I had in my day.
Paper and pens, and I regret not getting an iPad at least a year ago so I could write my DVM notes whilst going through clinics.
I use OneNote because I love it because it's across all devices, but also does a lot of the things where it enables you to record and embed video and also record audio. Mm-hmm. I remember when I started vet school, okay, this is 2003, first year, it was just too much to learn. I was the first person to buy an MP3 recorder, and I put this little MP3 recorder at the front, and it had a grand total of 125 meg worth of memory. And so I could record 3 lectures before I had to empty it. And I was the first person recording MP3s. And then at the end of the year, at the end of 50 years, there's like a dozen of these things out there. Like they're multiplying and kind of having babies of, but we used to share those recordings everywhere. So that's and now they're like are your lectures recorded and shared and stuff? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's super cool.
Makes me feel old. We definitely don't. For us, it was you go to lectures or you miss out, dude. There's no second take. And if you fall asleep, shit, you miss out.
I love it. The progression. The progression was stone and chisel, which is where Hubert graduated from, and then MP3s where I graduated, and then now we got all sorts of stuff, all sorts of tech.
Even in the last couple of years, to be honest, I still remember first year in physics or biochemistry, lecturers could record it, but they didn't have to. And now, like last year was our last theory-based year. All of the lecturers had to record and post them. So it's a small change, but it's still pretty big in the grand scheme of things in terms of years.
Okay, so let's say that you're about to start uni, like excited about vet school. It's like, I don't know, like a week before it's orientation week, and you were able to go back in time and then give yourself like 5 pieces of advice. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What would you tell yourself back then?
Oh, there's so many things. One of them would be try and actually form relationships with the lecturers a bit more. I feel like most of the years we kind of just learned what we needed to learn, and we're like, okay, yep, they're our lecturer for a couple months, and then we just move on to the next, and we don't actually form a relationship with them, which I think would have been super beneficial. The next would be actually understand where you're going, because there was so many times throughout the years where I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing next year in terms of like subjects and categories and stuff like that. So actually take the time to sit there and learn about where you're going. And 3 would be the fact that there's going to be a lot of time where you're going to have to study really hard, but also make sure you take time for yourself, because I think over the years, I think I've done it in reverse, where I studied really hard, didn't take any time for myself, and now I do the opposite. But I think it's worked in a sense. And 4 would have to be the fact that your peers are your best friends. Like my year level is honestly the best. We share things, help each other. There's no bickering, there's no competition, nothing. And actually try to make an effort a bit more to form better relationships with a bit more of them. And lastly, there's a lot. Which one do I choose?
Oh, you can keep going to 10. I don't mind. Just keep on going.
There's going to be a lot of times where I doubted my capabilities a lot of the time, and I think I still do. But I think honestly just giving things a shot, whether it's, putting your hand up, even if that's all you can do and you get it wrong and then go, oh, no, don't worry about it. That's fine. That's your first step. You got your hand up, and then maybe like next lecture, you'll be able to actually answer or that question that they asked, and keep going from there. Because like you said, Gerardo, that imposter syndrome is still very much embedded in me, considering I had a small different deviation from the normal route of vet school, which is fine, not an issue. But I think it kind of haunts you a little bit later on, like you're not as good as the others. You can't keep up. I think for me, lastly, would be the fact that no way is a right way in terms of studying, or how much you can retain, or what you can present, or how people present things, because everyone has a different way of doing things, in the sense that, yes, someone may know so much about the heart, but they may not know so much about the GIT. And I shouldn't compare myself to that at all. I think if I was to tell my younger self what vet school would be like, it'd be a lot of comparing. However, like in life, there's always going to be comparisons. You just got to choose what you want to compare yourself to.
Wow.
And obviously have mentors. That's my last takeaway, because I wish I had someone that would have mentored me through earlier years. I'm finding out the benefits of mentoring a little bit too late, but in the grand scheme of things, I think the right time right now.
But I think what you guys just created, right, was like probably the ultimate mentoring piece of advice or feedback or, resource, really. Because you can have a mentor who's really good at one thing, but they're not necessarily good things. But what you got there is a collated document of the 10 powerful strategies on every single topic from every, aspect of the globe. You guys essentially become research experts to some degree, right?
Yeah. Minute, but yes.
I like your point about appreciating your lecturers. It only dawned on me the other day, like literally in the last few years, the amount of wisdom and cumulative wisdom and spectacular people who you have there. You're literally employing them. They are there for you. They are so bloody smart, and like some arrogant 22-year-old, you roll your eyes and go, oh, come on, another half an hour with Professor this and this and this. I would kill to spend 20 minutes with some of those people now to pick their brains about stuff, and you completely waste that resource because you don't appreciate what they have. And we were lectured by world-class people, and then you walk away from uni and they are just unavailable to you. Then suddenly you're like, okay, there we go. Now find a book or find an internet. You don't have that personal access. And as you say, if you have that relationship with somebody like that, that would be invaluable for the rest of your career, to have them at the end of it, an email or even the phone to call them up and ask for some advice. So yeah, very, very good bit of wisdom there.
I feel like in our last clinical year, we get to form that relationship, but I feel like it's a little bit too late. I wish we had more than just 3 weeks with parasitologist or whoever. In saying that though, I'm not quite sure what the other universities do, but if we were to have something show up 2 or 3 years after we graduate, they have always said to email them if we need it. So I know graduates from 4 years out who still email our lecturers going, hey, I think I've diagnosed this. What do you think? And they always get back to them, and they rave to us younger years about it. They're like, oh, my student from 3 years ago diagnosed this. I taught them very well. So it's really good to see, though, that they have our back still.
One point to share there, like I, as part of myself stepping out, and in first year I was terrified of public speaking. And I put my hand up to be year representative because I knew that I would have to speak in front of the team, in front of the year. Then the inadvertent value that I got from being involved in some level of leadership or some level of student body or something, some kind of organizing committee, was that it actually gave me access to the school administration and also to the university lecturers, because I would have to like go to them with a gripe or something, and we build these like tight relationships. And I like still know all of them, and I have some close relationships with them. And I wouldn't have got that if I didn't actually step into some kind of leadership or responsibility role. So that's one particular pathway. But what I really loved was actually what you said, because Hubert highlighted what resonated for him was where you're going. And for me, my interpretation of that is around context. It's right, context. You can see what you're learning today fits in with 5th year, 4th year, 3rd year, 2nd year, 1st year. Sometimes it's so, you'd be like, why the hell is this so important? Like, why the hell do we spend so much time on this when you sometimes don't see the context? And maybe it could come down to a little bit around the way that it's presented. It's not presented in a way which adds context. It's like, hey, in when you graduate, you're going to see these particular patients all the time, right? And this Krebs cycle, I don't even know what the Krebs cycle does. Okay, I keep forgetting, right? This Krebs cycle is so important because it impacts these 5 conditions which you're going to see commonly when you are in general practice. Everyone's been like, context, need to know this, right?
No, definitely. I reckon looking back on the first 3 years, I feel like if I had known why concepts were important back then and what I might be seeing through even clinical placements and how that applied, like you said, it may have benefited me. And not so much, I just need to pass that exam because it's biochemistry and physics and who cares about that?
I'm trying to think, how do you get that perspective though? Because I agree, it would be awesome if you had it, but it is actually very hard to have that perspective until you are working through it and go, that's why I should have known that. Now I need to go back. It is quite tricky. I think maybe that's where having a mentor could be super useful, somebody to give you that perspective, because you can't have it. You know, as you say, Gerardo, if your lecture's really good at it, the person presenting the content, and they try and put it in perspective, that might help. But it's not, they probably don't always have time.
That links into my trying to have better relationships with lecturers, because they would have an idea of how that fits into future life. I feel like those three are kind of tied in together in that sense.
So you could buddy up between a first and a fifth year? I think it changes to the first and the fourth year, because the fifth year is always on rotations and couldn't give advice because they were non-contactable. But you could put your hand up to be a buddy, and you'd be partnered up with a mentor. But I think even just like the year above might be of value.
Yeah, for sure.
Just someone of the year above. So,
well, there we go. There's homework for you, Nara, and for anybody else. Do it if you don't have it at your uni. What did I read the other day? Pave the way behind you, not in front of you. And pave the way behind you for the others. Set up that mentoring program, because we didn't have it. And listening to you talk about it, it would have been spectacular if we had a formalized, because we were friends with the older guys, but if in an informal setting, the last thing you want to talk about is more uni work. You just want to get drunk and have fun. But to have formalized sessions once a week where you sit down with somebody and say, all right, let's talk about stuff. What problems have you got? What don't you understand? What can I help you with? Would be perfect. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So where do people get a hold of you guys if you want to check it out? Where do you go to?
Yeah, so it's just www. and in full words, it's #vetschool.com.
Okay, so #HASH, not the symbol, but the actual word #vetschool.com.
Correct.
Awesome.
I love what you guys are doing. It's inspiring to see these students going above and beyond just getting their heads down and getting through the course. I read or heard something the other day by Seth Godin. I don't know if you've come across his stuff. I know, Gerardo, you talk about becoming a professional, deciding to in your veterinary career, but I heard something then, and I was thinking about this talk with Nara and thinking that by the time you're a fourth, fifth, final year vet student, you're a professional student. And Seth gave a lovely explanation of what is a professional. You think that it's to do with when you start getting money for something, but and I actually wrote it down. Somebody who shows up to do their best, even when they don't feel like it. A professional does the hard work of getting better at their craft, and a professional is open to feedback so their craft can get better. And it's about commitment and consistency and not about anything else. So when you enroll in that veterinary course, you become a professional, or you have to become a professional veterinary student to make success of it. And you guys are living it. You are doing the professional thing. Well done.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thanks so much, Zara, for your time, and best of luck with exams.
Thank you.
Thank you again for taking the time to listen. We hope that you have found some value in that. And as always, if you did and you can think of somebody else who might like it, please take a moment to send them the link to this episode. And remember to go to thevetfold.com and register for our mailing list so we can send you the answer to the one question. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you next time.